You're watching KTN News Center. Time for us to have this important conversation on drug and substance abuse in the country, which is reportedly on the rise. Our guest this morning is Gitali, who is the chairperson of the Kenya Tobacco Control Alliance. It's great to have you here this morning.
Thank you.
All right, and let's start before we even talk about the ongoing crackdown. There is a recent data that was released by NACADA. Probably, is it showing to a reduction in tobacco use, alcohol use, or what does it state?
Yeah, NACADA released very important information, and this information shows that the drug that is mostly abused in Kenya, every part of this country, is alcohol. And the situation is getting out of hand with the various reasons given, but the situation is so bad. And then we have got tobacco, we have got marijuana, and then the others follow. Yeah, so the situation is not good at all. Even when it comes now to tobacco, it's like tobacco consumption is going down, but the idea here is that there is a lot of illicit trade in tobacco, and therefore it's not very easy for us to establish exactly the extent to which it is abused. And then also there are these, the so-called safer alternative nicotine products, which are now really being used by young people all over. So it's a problem that is compounding itself and trying to bring a false picture that the situation is going down, but it's not going down as such. This is a problem that we are terming as addiction, which is a new disease. Okay, it has been there, but it's now getting out of hand.
Yeah.
So the situation is not getting any better.
And there is an ongoing crackdown, especially at the Mount Kenya region. There is a lot of conversations ongoing on who should be involved in this, how the government should take care of this. Let's maybe listen to a report here from the Mount Kenya region, where the government has been challenged to involve private sector players in the fight against alcohol and drug addiction in the central Kenya, where hundreds of youth have fallen victim. According to Jen Gishuki, a volunteer helping in the fight against alcohol and substance abuse, the battle against addiction can only be won through an integrated approach, incorporating all the stakeholders, including government departments, rehab centers, the victims and their families. This comes days after Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua held consultations with more than 240 members of county assemblies from central Kenya with an aim of strengthening the fight against drug and substance abuse in the region. Reporter Stephanie Wangari has the story.
A dark cloud is hovering in one of Kenya's most populous regions, Central.
Mimi ukiniona hivi nikireba ninakunywa pombe. Tu stress. Unaenda hivi unakosa kazi, unafanya kazi gumu. Tunaenda kwa mitala, unaenda unakosa. Sasa kama unaona mtu mwingine tu rafiki akwambia usikuje tujimunye kiasi.
The cloud that is illicit brew and drug abuse now causing low productivity among youth in this area. Residents here say that youth unemployment and broken marriages are some of the challenges leading youth to alcoholism.
Watu wengi wamepotelea kwa pombe. Unakuta mtu ni asubuhi na ni mlevi. Sababu ya kukosa kazi, unakuta huyo mtu ni stress.
Alcohol remains the most abused drug in Kenya, according to recent findings by the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA. According to the report, Central Kenya tops in the prevalence of current use of portable spirits.
Hawa watu ambao wamezidiwa zaidi waende kule ili waweze kutibiwa, ndio hata wakija kupewa kazi ya kufanya watafanya wakiwa soba.
The Kikuyu Council of Elders have attributed the current crisis to importation of ethanol into the country by some unscrupulous traders. According to the associational national chairman Dungu Gaidhoma, the illicit brews pose one of the biggest threats to the community.
Hii pombe ambaye inakuja kutoka nchi za nje, ethanol, ambaye ukishatumia hiyo pombe hata nerves zako, hata nguvu ya mwili yako inapiga. Hiyo kitu unakunywa kidogo tu, tone kidogo, inakulewesha vibaya sana.
Last week, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua met with more than 240 members of county assemblies from central Kenya counties of Kiambu, Nyeri, Murang'a, Kirinyaga and Nyandarua counties. His aim to come up with stringent measures on the sale of alcohol in order to fight against drug and substance abuse in the region.
We are concerned as the leaders from this region and for the whole country, really, that if we don't intervene, we can lose an entire generation. The situation in central Kenya and the rest of the country is worrisome.
The Deputy President promises to extend the fight of alcohol and substance abuse to other parts of the country to save the youth from distraction. Stephanie Wangari, KTN News.
Now, chiefs and their assistants have raised concerns about their safety and hostility they are facing in the ongoing crackdown on illicit brews. The administrators who are charged with fighting the menace have said that they have started receiving threats from the brewers who are opposed to the ongoing crackdown, speaking when they destroyed by pouring down 5,000 litres of illicit brews at Siberia village in Laikipia County. Kiamaina Senior Chief Muraya Waithaka said that the brewers have turned their guns on them by issuing threats, with some targeting their families. The brew was recovered in a private home days after another 10,000 litres of the brew was nabbed at South Mamanet Forest. He said that unknown brewers in the area have threatened to burn down their houses to avenge the crackdown.
Ile changamoto tunapatana nazo, ukiangalia sana sana wakati tunakutana na watu wanatudhiriten, utaona sisi tuko katikati yao, manyumba tunaweza chomewa. Hiyo mambo tunapata tu, hatujapata kabisa ni akina nani, lakini tunapata report. Kwa leo tarehe 24 Monday tumepata report ya kwamba kuna mahali pombe imetoka forest ikaja kufishwa maina ambaye ni lita karibu 5,000. Na wakati tulifika tulisaidiwa sana na watu wa nyumba 10, walitusaidia sana. Na wakati tulifika, kitu cha kwanza tulipata hiyo ndani ya hiyo nyumba imefungwa, tulifuja kwa sababu hakukuwa na alternative. Tulijaribu kuvuja kwa sababu tulipata ripoti iko. Na ukiangalia last week na this week so far tumepiga 15,000 liters na tunajaribu kupiga. Ukiangalia hao maofficers tulitoka saa 10 usiku. Tulienda tukatafuta vile hiyo pombe tutaipata, saa 8 kamili ndio tumepata report mahali imefishwa.
All right, Joe, and you've seen such reports time and time again where the government begins a crackdown on especially on the illicit brews back in the villages. Do you think the way it's dealing with this is the right way? Because we've also heard voices from stakeholders that it's time that the government involved multi-sectoral approach to fighting drug and substance abuse.
Yeah, there is a lot to this because way back during those times of the late Moi, there was a minister called Sharif Nasser who was complaining that his children were totally destroyed by drugs. They were into drugs. And therefore, when you look at it holistically, you find that the community should just be involved fully. The private sector should be there. You know, even when we want to deal with the legislation, yes, we are legislating, but even our legislation is also a problem. What we need is for the community to be involved and to be educated seriously about this. Because the more we talk about it, the more the situation gets out of hand. And it's because some of the things are what the chiefs are saying.
Yeah.
That the whole exercise is even risky to them.
Yeah.
I know of cases whereby even policemen have been killed by those who brew this stuff and those who drink. Because the fellows normally come up with their own private armies, sort of, to protect them against the security officers. And then there are places where security officers are also compromised. You find a fellow who deals in this stuff remitting a percentage of money to maybe an OCS or a chief or something like that. You have also seen in the past where, even somewhere in Nakuru at one time, where a chief or an assistant chief came to a presidential function while drunk. So this brings me to what we are saying, that the entire community must be involved so that people identify those among them who are doing this, and they just know that these people are destroying their children.
Yeah.
Because people normally conceal. You want to take action, but you don't know how, because the community is also involved in concealing crime.
Yeah, and when you talk about community involvement, then what should be the role of the government? Because I've seen a petition by actors, including Ketka, that nicotine pouches should be stopped, and I think this follows action by Netherlands, which banned the sale of the same. So should governments wake up, because now NACADA has stated that alcohol is mostly abused in the country? Should the government wake up and impose a ban on some of these drugs?
In fact, there are those that are even banned. Some, like illicit brews, they are banned on paper, but on the ground they are there. So the government should really enforce this. And as you have rightly said, we are talking about this nicotine, oral nicotine pouches time and again, because there are sources of addiction. And when these young people get involved in any form of addiction, they go and graduate to another and another. You'll find most of those who are using tobacco are also chewing mirror, they're also drinking. So it should be a holistic kind of approach, whereby we are dealing with addiction, whether it be tobacco, whether it be marijuana, alcohol. All these things should be done at the same time. We shouldn't just focus on one. We will not be doing the right thing, because we know that when one is abusing maybe 2 drugs, if he stops using one, the chances of relapsing are very high if he still uses the other. So we must approach this holistically. And then the other problem that we have is that these things have really been entrenched into our culture, where you find people saying, when you have this kind of function or this kind of function, you must have the local brew. So during such times, even our administrators normally relax, that they're supposed to be doing it maybe during initiation or something like that, like among the people around Mount Kenya, tobacco is really used at that time, which is something that must be stopped. Because even this tobacco came from outside. Our ancestors never used to have it. So saying that it's part of our culture is still living in colonialism. And then the other thing that must be done, as it has been correctly said, if we can get how to keep these young men busy. But that is not the only thing, because I've seen even the fight against drug abuse and alcohol being weaponized. So you find like the deputy president is saying this, plus other members of the government, and then on the other hand, the opposition is saying something different. Like when Honorable Raila went and was saying the only treatment is to give these young people jobs. If they don't get jobs, then they just continue to drink, which is false, because we are losing teachers, we are losing professionals to drug abuse, to alcohol. There are many teachers who have died, like in Kakamega, where I come from. We have buried teachers because of alcohol. Somebody gets a salary and disappears from work. So is that person jobless?
And that brings us to the question of addiction. You rightfully said that some of these drugs are banned on paper, but these people are addicted to some of these drugs. So the government could go ahead and ban the substances, but if one is addicted, then there's relapse, like you said. So how do we assist the young people and even the elderly who are really addicted to some of these substances?
I'm happy that cessation programs are being rolled out by the Ministry of Health and by the government in general. But then we are not supposed to treat this as a crime. You know, when you put even these cessation programs under the Ministry of the Interior, they look like those who are involved are criminals or that. But we should look at addiction as a disease and even put these programs under the Ministry of Health. And then we really follow them and help. We don't have those centers, and then they become like the hospitals which don't have drugs, they don't have the staff. We must have those centers, they be equipped, and at least every county should have that. The government should invest in these people. So if that can be done, so that professionals, we have so many professional counselors and other health care providers who can be used in that. So that can help. Apart from now educating the masses in schools, students are supposed to be taught. You know, our problem is that even when you bring a subject that is supposed to help students in school, then you find that it is even the drunkards and drug addicts who are teaching the same subject. Like you bring life skills, then you find it is teachers of CRA who are teaching, and you find some of them are drug abusers. So we don't really get what we are supposed to get out of the programs we roll out, because we don't look at everything and ensure that things are done in the right manner.
Yeah, and in one of your advocacy campaigns, you said that it was time that the government took a stand in this. Do you think the government is not committed towards the fight against drug abuse?
The government is not committed, because you will find somebody like the deputy president talking, but when you go to the ground, you find the reverse. Like this time when we talk about ban on shisha, but you move around and see what is really happening in these nightclubs, in the bars, in these social places. You'll be told shisha is just a normal thing. That is, enforcement is the problem. So we must have proper enforcement following these utterances. Otherwise, we wouldn't want rhetorics and just talking for the public consumption, PR exercise. No, we must see these things happen. And that's why we are saying everyone should be involved. And the civil society organizations should be empowered, because we do a lot of monitoring. When you see us talk, we are talking because we get this information from the ground. There was a time we got information, for example, from Isli. Somebody just called me, and then we swung into action. We collaborated with the deputy county commissioner, and then the police. We had some workshops with them, and there was a crackdown, and things worked. So we needed to involve everybody, even in implementation. The way in the past we had formed district enforcement committees to help in cracking down on this kind of thing. So we actually must bring everybody on board and ensure that we are doing the right thing.
All right, Joe Gitali, thank you so much for your time. We've been speaking with Joe Gitali, who is the chair Kenya Tobacco Control Alliance, on the fight against the drug and substance abuse and what really could be done to especially address the addiction menace. My name is Purity Museo Nzuki. That brings us to the end of News Center this morning. Thank you so much for your company. Keep watching KTN News.